nervous?
No.
Where's your answer?
Dennis Beckham, let the ball on! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Oh!
Oh, no! Oh, yes! He missed it.
Welcome to the Suffering from Joy podcast. My name's Devin. As Seth said right before we started recording, let's get this over with. Houston Dynamo 2, Austin FC 0. For me, by far the worst loss of the season, worst game of the season. Not trending upwards. Not a good place to be when you're about to hit a really heavy fixture snap. But joining me today, already mentioned him, Seth, who knows everything. Seth, how you doing?
Freiburg is on negative goal differential and is in fourth place in the Bundesliga right now. And that was wonderful to watch yesterday. It was just like, my yesterday was very much a start of like, oh, this is kind of cool. Brad and I got to go see Leyton Orient earlier this year, or I guess technically last year. And they are now in a League One playoff spot with one match to go. Saw Freiburg get an amazing result. Mainz, who's one of the big rivals, dropped points yesterday. Wrexham got promoted. That's always cool to see. FC Cincinnati got a nice win. And yeah, I mean, something happened at 7:30. I mean, we'll talk about it, I guess.
Yeah, I guess my big results were the Blues absolutely kicked the shit out of the Winnipeg Jets on Thursday, Friday, one of those days. And my good friends at Dorking Wanderers are in the National League South playoffs, which I thought they were, and then I had to check with Seth yesterday because I didn't realize I didn't know the rules on how that works. So little bits of optimism. We had some distractions with Shitter Sanders and some other things that we'll take a look at after we talk about the game. But also with us, Brad Tillery. Brad, how you feeling?
Thank God for the Avalanche for giving me some joy in my life in sports over the last couple of days.
Yeah, they haven't really been doing that this series, but
And last night was good. They won 4-0. And okay. Landeskog got a goal, which was, after his injuries and damn near having to retire due to everything, was really cool to see.
Yeah, Landeskog had the, I think, second out of, there are only 3 people who have ever taken 1,000 days in between games and still come back to captain an NHL team, and the other 2 were during World War II.
Yeah.
That was nice of Landeskog to show up.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Not my favorite player, but we got to stick with our Swedes here. Rounding out our crew of merriment here today. Scott, how you feeling?
I think I need to add more teams that I follow because there just is no joy right now.
Yeah, we're watching one right now. I didn't watch the first half, but I saw Bournemouth 1, Man United 0.
I mean, it's to the point now where it's like, oh, United are playing in the Premier League. I just know we're going to lose because it's not priority, first of all. Like, the only priority is winning Europa, and 2, I feel like they always lose at Bournemouth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's weird that Bournemouth is kind of a formidable outfit now, but things change. But some things do stay the same. Very horseshoey yesterday. I've been kind of, we've been playing defensive, and I've been hesitant to call it horseshoey because I don't think it is. But yesterday we definitely drifted back into that realm. Brad, any thoughts on the lineup to start with?
I thought the lineup made sense. A little disappointed to see Sabovic on the bench. With Danny and Owen, as I've said here several times, I don't think they play well together. Although I don't think they played terribly yesterday, except for the one clearance by Owen. He was largely one of our only creative players in being able to dribble us out of problems. Obrian was the natural selection for the replacement on the left side. I think an argument can be made maybe CJ offers a little more right now than Hader, but I would prefer to see CJ over there than Hader myself. But, it's nothing that I'm losing sleep over by starting Obrian over CJ on that left wing. So otherwise, the lineup made perfect sense to me. Nothing egregious in that respect.
You didn't want to get super creative and slide Biru into center back and play Zan at left back?
No, but I would, and we'll get into this, I would like to see more Kalmanich because Biru has just really not been doing it for me over the last few weeks, and I think he needs to sit.
Yeah, and I do wonder on the midfield side too if with all these games coming up, we're just sort of mixing and matching and kind of trying a couple new things. But we'll see. Seth, any thoughts on the lineup other than kind of what we covered?
I mean, it's sort of what we were semi-forced to go with there. I mean, there's a world of, okay, maybe you try to start Diego Rubio to play sort of the role that Brandon had been playing, but like he didn't really do much in the second half. So I think Nico was right in that regard. And yeah, I mean, we'll get into Danny's stuff, but like, yeah, we just got a little greedy there on a certain point. Like, I'm fine with Savovich actually coming off the bench in this match, but he also didn't show much in the 60 minutes that he was on the pitch.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of not showing much going around. I don't think it was quite Vancouver level, but we can kind of talk about that too. Scott, any kind of pregame thoughts you wanted to hit us with?
There's this weird narrative that some people keep positing about Nico being a tinkerer or kind of like changing lineups week to week. And I think most of his lineup changes are out of necessity. And I'm not really sure where that reputation comes from, because to me, he just kind of picks the same lineup every time. Like he kind of like swaps out a midfielder maybe, but a lot of that is just based on like availability and Sanchez's minutes. And so I wasn't surprised at all. Like, this is what we're going to see. We're going to see a 4-3-3 every week.
Yeah, and I mean, I was kind of fine with everything. Like we said, maybe I kind of thought a little bit about the Rubio thing, but that was more once we got into the game. But I don't know. How do you guys want to tackle this? Should we just whole talk about the game, or do you want to do specific events? Because it was kind of a giant blur of fuck mess for me.
There's a few specific events that pop into my head, but
Sure.
Overall on the game, the word I keep coming back to are two words: running and effort.
Yes.
Like, I didn't see either one of those things. There were countless opportunities last night to hit a counterattack, and no one was willing to run. There were opportunities to get behind the line, the defensive line, and have space. And we tried it maybe once on the Uzuni shot that he should have scored on. Otherwise, it just felt like we kept trying to intentionally slow the game down against a team that, on paper, is worse than us. I realize that Houston's playing decently the last few weeks. However, there's nothing I saw on the pitch yesterday that shows me that Houston is a better team than we are, from what I've seen over the course of the season of what we can be. What I saw yesterday was a side wearing Verde that looked like it didn't want to be there. And I can understand not wanting to be in the city of Houston. God knows I never want to be there either. However, you're paid to do this. This is your job. The lack of effort was astounding last night, and is a disservice and an insult to this fan base.
Yeah, lack of effort. I understand when we go to LAFC and we want to slow the game down. This is a rivalry game. It's not a team that we're completely overmatched against or anything. Go fucking win the game. You hit on the big note for me, and I was pulling my hair out, especially in the first half, where we would turn them over, we would get past the midfield line, and then we would play the ball to Obrian, who's coming back to pick up the ball. That is not what Obrian does. Obrian runs in behind and, maybe gets a good cross, maybe gets a good shot, something happens, but his superpower is put him in behind, let him run onto the ball. So we're going to talk about college football because it was draft weekend here. Kansas State had a coach named Bill Snyder, who basically took that program from a complete laughingstock to actually halfway decent. Some pretty good teams there in the late 90s, early 2000s. And he left, came back, and what he was always perfect at, they had a guy named Colin Klein in kind of the mid-2010s. And Colin Klein was an absolutely fucking terrible quarterback. But what he could do is run the ball off tackle for about 4 goddamn yards every play. And so you could do that repeatedly, and then it opens up the pass. And so what Bill Snyder would do with all of these players, exactly like Colin Klein, is say, you can do one thing really, 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 really fucking good, and we're just going to have you do that. Just do that. We'll find somebody else to do everything else. We did the exact fucking opposite of that with Obrian and to a lesser extent Bukari all night, and it just drove me fucking insane that this was our game plan and we had no plan B. Seth, you're nodding along.
Absolutely. I mean, we get to a point here of like players that we played to their strength last night, and I am going through our roster right now, and I think CJ for the final few minutes that he subbed on.
Gallagher in the first half.
What's that?
Gallagher in the first half.
Yeah, sure. We get to a point, and Svatak in the first half too. Svatak played fine in the first half. In the second half, I'm not sure where his man marking went, but that is a whole nother story. But yeah, I mean, like the first half was a acceptable-ish, like, oh God, we're gonna draw 0-0 in Houston. Let's dread our lives. And in the second half, we somehow came out even worse. And if I look at this, one of the things that's been really interesting is another thing that Bill Snyder's teams are pretty good at is making adjustments when they needed to make adjustments. And halftime, nothing. I mean, subs came on late. I'm not sure why Biru stayed on the field at this point, but like we didn't make any real I mean, obviously the options were relatively limited last night, but like there are still more things that we could have done than what we did.
Yeah, and pretty much everything they created early on was Griffin Dorsey running in, and that's almost all. Biru's like dropping in extra because he's on that yellow card, so he wants to make sure he doesn't get beat. So if you've already got this giant problem of they can only create because your guy's on a yellow, like sub him out. I don't understand it.
I don't get it, but there's also like this is a guy who is effectively our fourth center back in a time where we are going to have 8 or maybe 9 matches in May.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some creativity there. We may actually see some FC toe rotation in there for Open Cup or something. But yeah, I mean, it just I think Brad hit it hard. Like you can even have bad tactics, but if you're just kind of wandering around and taking a stroll, and if we want to play defensive and hit on the counter, we have to hit on the counter. And we're not even trying to do that. Like our offensive strategy for most of the game was pass it to Bukari, who has 3 fucking guys on him, and hope he does something. Like it's fine if he's 1-on-1, but
or pass it back to Stuver, kick it long, and give away the possession.
Yep.
Like we weren't even properly executing the horseshoe. It'd be one thing if we were getting to a point of like, okay, we're gonna pass it back, we're gonna go pass it around, and then eventually find a line here, maybe find a through ball, maybe get something. Like we didn't like how many passes did we complete in the final third in this match?
I want to go back to something Devin just said. He said, and he's right. Looked like part of our strategy was just give it to Bukari, but then he had 2 or 3 guys on him the entire night. That tells you how little Houston respects Hot Air Obrion, by the way, on the other side. And that they were not worried about him beating us at all, or quite frankly, damn near anybody else on the roster beating us. Because the entire strategy looked like in the attack, make sure the one guy who can beat you one-on-one doesn't get the ball.
Yeah. Well, even like the combos with him and Gallagher, like they were both trying to go inside or both trying to go outside every single time. You would think 10 games into the season, and Bukari was here for a little bit last year, like there's some level of communication going on. But we keep saying like, oh, the offense will click, the offense will click, the offense will click. Well, for me, this is the first big like, oh, that looked like 2023 2024 Austin game that we've had this year.
So in my What You Need to Know article I published on Friday, I posited that our offense having a breakout is now an if, not a when. And I think everything that we're talking about here is that this is a team that is disjointed. It doesn't have a cohesive set of tactics of what they're trying to do. We talk about the horseshoe, but then Stuver's also hitting it long. Gallagher's trying to overlap, but so's Bukari. And then O'Brien's coming back when he should be going forward. And you just kind of see all these things that have been going on this season that don't work and that we keep trying to make work that don't work. And hopefully Nico will make some like tactical changes, because I think there are better ways to distribute these players and do this lineup, and we keep talking about them. To answer Seth's question about passes completed in the final third, I believe Austin only attempted 41 according to MLS analytics, and we only had 9 into the opposition box, which this was not a game to show anybody trying to get them to watch more Austin FC or MLS matches, as there were only 19 total passes into the box. Houston had 10. I think the XG combined at halftime was less than 1 yesterday. Like this was just kind of
most of that was on that one Izuni chance in the first half. Like it is.
Yeah.
It was rough out there. We definitely unsold some away tickets based on that match last night.
Well, I mean, for me, the biggest problem with this is it's clearly tactical. This isn't the players are trying to meld and they don't know what's going on. Like, O'Brien coming back to the ball, that is not his game. He's not going to default do that. Trying to whack it into sort of force it into a triple covered Bukari, that is not something that Owen's naturally doing. That's not something that Danny's naturally doing. So my big question here is, how do we fix what is clearly a coaching issue? Because, we talk about personnel all the time, and we've what we think are good personnel, right? Is this like a holy shit, we really, really miss Brandon Vasquez? Or is this like somebody needs to grab Nico by the shirt collar and say, attack, fucking attack the other goal? Like, I don't know. What do we do?
I mean, I think we've been less bullish on Nico than a lot of other places. I think we kind of talked about like he might just kind of be an average coach, but average is such a big improvement from what we had. He still looks like a genius. And I think now we're kind of seeing a better example of why so many of us were underwhelmed at the hire. I've said it before, but Austin managed to hire the coach of one of the few teams who were worse than us last year. And we're kind of seeing that now. And ultimately, like this is on Rodolfo Borrell to yell at Nico or get him to understand what to do better, or he needs to fire him and get somebody who will. Because ultimately, this is a big decision that Borrell had to make for the club. And while his player acquisitions and recruitment has looked really good, ultimately, like you're also responsible for, to extend the Brito cooking analogy, but like you're also responsible for how the sous chef distributes all of those pieces, and he needs a new sous chef.
I'm still willing to, let it ride a little bit. We said we were all very upset with the hire, but hey, he deserves a fair shot. We're going in the wrong direction and in the wrong style of play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Bill.
Go ahead. No.
No, I was just going to add on. I looked last night because I was so frustrated with our lack of goal scoring. What was Nico's teams in Dallas? How were they scoring goals? What were their numbers? They were abysmal. 89 total goals scored for FC Dallas in the 2 full seasons that Nico was the head coach. 48 in 2022 when they were third in the West, and 41 in 2023 when they finished 7th and barely slipped into the playoffs. And I don't have to hopefully I don't have to make you do the math, but it's just slightly over a goal a game is what he's averaging as full-time head coach. It's not a coincidence, by the way, that last year Dallas ended up scoring a whole lot more. Now they were terrible defensively, especially after he left, but they scored 54 goals last year. Most of that
they also had Petra Musa, who actually got into form right after he left. So some of that I think is on coaching, but it's also a question of how much of that is directly blamed on Nico. Okay, we can see that strikers can come into form in this league very quickly. Kevin Danke already has 6 goals for FC Cincinnati, and it's at the end of April. Mirto Izuni has 1 goal. Brandon Vasquez has 2 goals.
Yeah, but that gets my point. What you just said is Musa came into form right after he left. Mm-hmm. At some point, to me, there is a long enough correlation of Nico between Dallas, between here, and between his two. He's now like roughly 3 full seasons, getting close to it as a head coach in this league. His teams don't score goals. There's evidence here, and he has firepower on this team. There are guys who should be scoring. Now, listen, Mirto was in a great position in the first half last night. Should have scored. And I have said that I don't know how many times this year we should have scored. And I think we're underperforming our XG on the season by like 5.5 to 6 goals at this point. If you add 6 goals to our total, do we probably feel better about this team? Yeah, a little bit. But finishing is part of it. And I think Nico has raised our floor. I don't think our ceiling is any better.
I mean, Vasquez has quite a few of those chances. I mean, we talked about it last week, but are we at the point where we need to start worrying about Uzuni?
Should be worrying about everybody on the roster that's playing forward.
Well, one's our club record signing.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Technically 3 are.
Well, yeah.
just as a reminder. No, I definitely think it's time to worry. And I think the bigger tactical problem, and going back to the horseshoe, is that we've talked about kind of having a lack of an attacking midfielder or somebody who like links play, and some of that is also just that like Austin doesn't pass down the middle, and we don't involve the strikers. We don't involve, even when Owen gets the ball, I feel like he's drifting out wide to get it, and so at some point, like we need to do something more incisive to make the defense, to put more pressure on the defense to do that. Going back to the one game we scored multiple goals, like the way that Austin played against San Diego was get ball, turn, find ball forward, hit ball. And that was working. That looked really good when they were doing it. And ever since then, that's been the exact opposite of what we've done. We talk about O'Brien coming back to the ball or Bukhari coming back to the ball. That's not their game. They shouldn't be doing hold-up play. The guy who should be doing hold-up play is Vasquez. And secondly, maybe Uzuni. But like besides that, like you have speed, hit the ball deeper, make the defense come back, especially against a team like Houston, who, as you talked about, like their main attacking threat is Griffin Dorsey, a right back bombing down the wing. Put somebody fast on his side, and try to punish them every time he runs forward to keep him from doing that. Like this is basic soccer tactics, and I feel as though we keep failing at these.
Right. At that point, either Dorsey has to hang back and cover our guy. Okay, fine. We find a different route forward there. But like, ideally he's gone and we have a fast guy in space, but then you have to play the fucking ball into space to the fast guy. And clearly we're like tactically told not to do that. And I don't understand why.
I don't understand why everybody doesn't attack Houston that way. I like just watching them, especially like it was so stark even, watching last night's game, or especially against Colorado, like their only attack was going down the right side, combining with McGlynn. Like attack down your left side and force them to stay back, and you completely neuter this Houston team.
Yeah, and I don't know, there were a few too where we like kind of turned them over high up the field and then just turned around and started kicking the ball back and walked around a little bit. And I understand here and there you need to do that just sort of like recover a little bit like physically, but the amount of times we did that, 3 or 4 at least off the top of my head, this is a tactical instruction. And like you said, our best attacking game was turn the ball over, hit it, and go. Why aren't we doing that?
Also, going back to like, I don't know that firing Nico's the solution, but I do know that you can't fire all the players.
Yep. I do the pull the hockey goalie analogy a fair amount in here, so I don't think I need to revisit it.
I want to be clear that I'm not in fire Nico territory. I'm in eyebrows very, very raised at Nico territory, which slightly raised at the hire when we made the hire in the first place, and now 10 games in, like, yes, result-wise, we're in a good position on the table, but sometimes that can be deceiving, and we all know what's coming our way starting next week in May, and how many games we have to play, a minimum of 8, potentially 9. We now have some injury concerns to worry about. We do have a reinforcement coming in, thank goodness, which I do think is an upgrade to some parts of this team. But, oh man, if we don't start seeing some goals hit the back of the net, there need to be serious questions asked, not only of Nico, but of Roto for making this hire this quick.
I know that last year we actively were rooting for Austin to hire BJ Callahan. And in an alternate reality where Burrell has either more freedom or is more decisive, he's our coach right now. And we can kind of see how he has transformed how that national team plays attacking wise with not great talent, I would say, overall. Of like that like is a functional like mistake from Burrell to not get a guy like that who has turned out to be so good, and who I think a lot of us who watched the national team knew was going to be good.
Well, if we look at this, Nashville and Austin have the same number of points right now. It's a question. It certainly comes down to a preference of style of play. And I actually think that we'll probably end up with about the same number of points as Nashville will this season, because Nashville is a team that plays to the level of their opponents. Like looking at their results, like they can come up with some big results, and then sometimes they will just lay eggs at moments that you're like, what are they doing? Like against Charlotte, they were up 1-0 in Charlotte at the bank with 15 minutes to go, and then Walker Zimmerman got hurt and they didn't have a plan B. Like every coach has their flaws here, and yeah, BJ Callahan was a little motivated to coach his first match against Greg Berhalter yesterday, and they went up 7-0. I mean, that is it is
Not bad.
could I also see Nashville losing to an Atlanta team that got thumped in their last two matches 3-0 next Saturday at Mercedes-Benz? Absolutely.
The results. So I want to be clear of what I'm saying here. Last night's result is frustrating, but in this league, I can accept a loss because this league is stupid and teams lose all the time. What I can't accept is the effort and how we went about losing that match last night. And I'm someone who tries to look at patterns and not individual games, because you play 34 of these things, plus you have your cup matches. You learn more about a team if you take a 30,000 foot view than you do a one game view. And it's easy to overreact to one game. But the pattern that is emerging with this team is that this team and this coaching staff has no idea how to put the ball in the back of the net. And that is defensively, I still think we're strong. Last night wasn't an awful experience. So we had the one miscue from Owen on a clearance that directly led to a goal. And otherwise, I think if that doesn't happen, I'm not so sure Houston scores last night.
I actually think if that hadn't happened, there would have been a VAR and there would have been a PK given, and they would have scored.
Fair, yeah, because I actually thought it was a foul in the box.
I mean, I think that's why Owen hit that ball that way. I think he was just hitting the ball out there. Like, I don't think that was a malicious thing there. Like, I think it was like, they're giving me a PK, and then they scored after that. So, like,
fair.
The ball don't lie situation.
But I also think, if Azuni gets his goal in the first half, we probably the whole game changes. The whole game changes.
Drink.
Yeah. Rules change games. Drink.
Oh
no! I think my other worry, like 30,000 foot view of this team, is this team has only scored one goal while in a losing position, and that was when they were down 5-0. I'm really worried about the mentality of this team and what Nico can do and what the leadership on the field needs to do to get this team to play harder when they need to, because we've not seen them be able to do that yet. And I wonder if that is much more of a leadership thing or just like the way the players are or what they're told to do. And so that's my bigger worry, is that this team doesn't seem to have the mental strength to keep it together when they're down.
No, and I mean, just to go back to Seth's comparison to BJ Callahan, is Nashville out of every single game as soon as the other team scores? No.
Let's run these numbers back here. Like they got their ass beat up in Seattle last week.
Have they scored a goal when they're down by less than 5? This is easy.
Well, actually, it is. Okay, let's see. Have they scored a goal from a losing position this season? Give me one sec. Sorry.
This is very exciting audio medium stuff right here.
Well, Seth is looking this up. By the way, one of our best chances last night was Danny just smacking one from like 40 yards and hoping to get lucky.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's a good strategy in MLS. Like, if you look at where our players were positioned, like, had he gotten that on goal and forced the tough save, like, I think that would have been like, I don't think that's a terrible idea.
It's a great strategy until you pour a hamstring off your leg.
Yeah.
So Nashville has scored in only one match from a losing position this season. They came back to beat RSL at home 2-1.
Oh, what was that part, Seth?
They did it. They've done it in one match this season.
Okay, thank you.
Which is the same as Austin FC.
Wait, you said they came back and won, or they just scored a goal?
No, they did come back and win, but they were also playing against RSL at home.
But they came back and got full 3 points.
They came back and got a full 3 points one time.
That's a big difference, man.
But they've done it one time this season. They have been down in how many matches this season? They've been down in what? They had a 0-0 draw against New England, which doesn't look as bad anymore because New England got an impressive win in Charlotte yesterday. But yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, they're looking fine at a point, but like they're not like, oh my God, this is so much better. I don't see that right.
They have points from losing positions, and we don't. I think it's pretty simple.
They have 3 points from losing positions, and we have 0.
All right, I'm not going to get mired in this. I think both of our sides have been heard.
That's fair. Also, like I would like to point out that like Houston is on a 4-match unbeaten streak. They have brought in some new players. They're a lot better than they were earlier in the season. Jonathan Bond has made them a lot better. Obviously, Linker is better. He already has 2 goals in 2 appearances for them. Now, I don't think this Houston team's as bad as a lot of people kind of thought over the first few minutes or the first few matches. And as Brad loves to talk about, like, this league is crazy. Like, there's going to be some weird results. There's going to be some wild results. Nothing should ever surprise you. And yeah, like, Austin's still building up points. So up to this game. So I think it's still like, I don't think it's like, hey, we should expect a like plane to fly for Nico anytime soon. But I do think a lot of us are rightfully worried.
Yeah, it's not. I'm glad Brad clarified. I'm not like pitchforks and torches or anything. Just like we were all really skeptical of this hire, and it was kind of fine for a little bit. And now we're all kind of going back into very, very heavy skepticism. I mean, you said, yeah, there's going to be surprises. I did not have on my bingo card that we were going to lose a game off a goal to somebody named after a song by the Cranberries, but hey, learn different things in MLS. So here we go. I'm not as sure as you guys are that gets VAR'd as a penalty. And I do think we still need to beat Owen up a little bit about this because he has been one of our better players. I think you can make a case that's shoulder to shoulder. Who knows with MLS and VAR, but for me, it's not called on the field, so you don't overturn it type of thing unless there's like legs tangled in the replay. But
I'm also not sure it doesn't get called on the field if that doesn't happen immediately after.
True.
I think we're kind of into like alternate reality territory at this point, but I do think that like the referee would have been called over to look at that again.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, we took it out of their hands, which you probably shouldn't do. So penalty or no penalty, it's a dumb thing to do. I know we're all going to beat up Owen on that. What do you guys think about Stuver on the goal, the first goal?
I mean,
I think Stuver thought the play had stopped, and if he was fully focused there, I think he possibly makes that save. But it's also a really well-aimed shot.
Yeah, I was going to say, understandably,
he had kind of gotten himself back to center on the net and gotten himself in a position. Like, the ball was hit towards the bottom left corner. Like, that's a really hard shot to stop.
Yeah, and it goes between Svadok's legs, which is harder to see. So you get it, even that little bit later.
I mean, that's the kind of finish you expect to see from a designated player.
Yes, it would be nice to see one of those from a designated player, wouldn't it? Do we want to go talk about that Izuni chance anymore in the first half? Because that was the one time we actually played the ball over the top.
Only because if you watch the Colorado game against Houston, Colorado did that multiple times. Like, that is just a flaw in like Houston's defense of they lose track of markers in that way from long diagonals. And so I would have liked to have seen us attempt that more, but I also don't know that we have the players to do that.
Uzuni has to finish that. Period. No questions asked. I don't care unless the keeper makes just the most unbelievable save you've ever seen, and he didn't. Uzuni has to finish that. You get paid way too damn much money. We spent $13 million to go get you. You scored plenty of goals in the top flight of Spanish soccer. You know what you're doing. Finish that damn chance.
Yeah, this is the third time in 4 or 5 weeks that we're looking at drop points going, well, if Izuni finishes that, then maybe we're on a different road here.
You're going to need a button you're going to need a button here on Podcastle that is, Izuni should have finished that. So when one of us are out here, you can just say it.
Yeah. Can I say it in a crazy voice or do like an accent or something?
We can.
Look at this. At Suffering Pod. What accent should I do for this stupid button that Seth wants?
I know. I think next time we do an ad for a watch party, we need to try to have our payment be Alistair McAllister do that.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. That's what we're doing. All right, good idea, Seth. We'll make sure we have that done. I guess we got to talk about the second goal. It's I get what Zan's trying to do. He's trying to push it. He's trying to make something happen. It's a bad turnover. We don't defend it. Bang, counterattack goal, something we never seem to be able to do. And we failed to do like 5 minutes later on the other end, which I think was the most annoying part about that. But, we're outmanned, outnumbered. They move well, counter, pass to the open guy, hits in the back of the net.
Yeah, I don't know where Julio and Svatak were positioned on that. They both were not communicating with each other. Julio should have been higher up the field. Svatak completely lost Dorsey. Like, that was horrendous defending on both their parts.
I
Yeah,
felt like Svatak was covering Julio's mistake.
Yep.
Yes,
And that
but
left
you
the
still
back-
have
that
to
left the
you still
back
have
line
to catch some guy going in the box there, sure. But like,
I-
yeah, I mean, I get how you get stuck in no man's land there. That makes sense. But like,
Yeah, it's clear that I think we need to move on from Julio in the window. He's got to have some value somewhere, either in league or maybe down in Central America. I could see him having some value in Costa Rica, but it's time to move on from Julio Cascante. And yeah, he makes a decent salary. I think he's on $700,000, something like
he's
that.
a more than that. He's our only TAM player right now.
Yeah, there's money. That's money that we can free up and use elsewhere. I would like to think Roto is looking somewhere in Europe, most likely for this next window to bring in some center back help, much like he did with Svatak last year. I think a better center back pairing is going to help us. Listen, BHI has been fantastic, especially the salary we're paying him. But I want BHI as a rotational piece at center back long term. Because if we do that, that means we have seriously upgraded the defensive side. And I won't feel scared shitless whenever we have to rotate him in to start a match. Versus right now, when Julio gets penciled in, I'm just assuming we're giving up at least one stupid ass goal.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, the big thing wasn't even like mental breakdowns. Yeah, like we don't defend that counter well. Somebody needs to step up and just stop the ball. Novel idea, I know. Nobody's ever done that on a counterattack before, but stop the ball, stop the man, do something. He just looks physically gone. Like he's not even moving well, because usually he's kind of, decent runs, can kind of play with the ball a little bit. Like he just looks toast to me. I don't know what you guys think. Or
He just looks lost, completely lost to me. I wonder. I don't know if it's physically that he's lost a step. I think it's just mentally. And sometimes being mentally lost can slow your game down too, because you're thinking too much instead of reacting.
Yeah.
Right? That's where my head's at with Julio.
There's also just the problem of like smarter players are able to put themselves into the correct position to make up for those things. And that's never been his kind of strong suit. And so once like he loses even half a step, he's suddenly much further out and much further not where he's supposed to be, and that just cascades the problem.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not going to beat him up over that second goal. Like a bunch of people screwed stuff up, but there are times when you watch a game, like I was talking to Seth about Raheem Sterling, and it's like you just look at somebody and you're like, don't got it anymore, sorry. So I'm not saying we need to send him to the glue factory, but get some money back and get his money off his contract off the books. Be nice.
I mean, what's the glue factor offering?
Good question. Cohesion.
Yeah, I mean,
team.
I
We
hear
need
they
that
have
kind of
glue
glue. We need a
allocation
glue
money over there.
player.
Oh, is that the new GAM? Is glue allocation money?
Yeah, of
Perfect.
course.
Yeah.
Can we turn Elmer's into game?
Yeah. Official glue sponsor of Austin FC.
Ethan Finley, hey, it's another one you could go out and get.
Yeah, there you go.
You already hit the over, Ethan. You can stop now.
No. He'll never relent.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any other events, or like I guess we can talk about the referee. If we get that refereeing performance every week, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, he was fine.
Yeah, Chris Pensa wasn't a problem. We were the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing that cracked me up in the game last night, not even refereeing, was this is when I thought I was like, oh, we're going to win, was when Houston had that terrible 3-on-1 breakaway. Yeah, but I'm like, oh, shit, we're about to get one up. And then they didn't even make it to the top of the box with possession somehow. Might have been one of the funniest things I've seen on the pitch until one of their own players kicked the other one in the face with a ball.
Yeah, that was good. Made me feel a little better. Yeah, I think we hit all our notes. I mean, Seth kind of mentioned there's maybe this world where you want to start Rubio, and after watching Aubry on, I kind of agreed with that, and then Rubio came on, and I was like, maybe not. So, yeah, some sort of Tenny, pocket striker kind of guy, I think would be nice. And we did make a signing, so I guess let's talk about that real quick and see how he fits into the team. Seth, take us away.
So we made a deal on deadline day where I'm also disappointed in Apple for not having like a Sky News style deadline show, but also no one really knew if there were going to be that many moves on deadline day. So I kind of can't blame them for that. But there's we picked up Robert Taylor from Inter Miami. As Robert Taylor is one of their longer term players who was there before Messi and the Galacticos arrived and had a really strong start once Messi got there. He created a number of both goals and assists. He can play as a winger. He can play as an attacking midfielder. He's someone who, I don't know, would have been very helpful on the field last night. In the most MLS of senses, they're like, oh, well, he was signed from Miami on Wednesday. We should be able to get him here by Saturday. He's in shape. Well, was on the plane to Vancouver for the CONCACAF Champions Cup semifinal when he found out that he was being traded. So imagine that you've just been traded and you pretty much have to stay in Vancouver because there's not enough flights to get you back to Miami until the team flight that gets you back, and then has to like go move all of his stuff. So he should be here tomorrow is what my understanding is, and be in training on Tuesday. And I expect him to make the bench on Saturday and probably start next Wednesday against El Paso, and probably start 6 or 7 matches in May at this point.
And most importantly, he is finished, so he ups our Scandinavian quota.
We are very high on the Scandinavian quota at this point. Also, we continue with Finnish players that have English-sounding names, from Alex Ring to Robert Taylor. Robert Taylor's dad is actually English, so if you listen to him speak English, it very much sounds like a Commonwealth man more than anything else.
I'm also gonna say this. This is the first Finnish name besides that I can remember that we have that is going to come from a warm weather environment. So transitioning to what we have in the summer here might not be as bad. Because I would argue that playing in Miami in the middle of the summer can sometimes be worse than here with the humidity. So I'll take that.
Yeah, and I think anybody who can conceivably fit into that kind of, we've been sort of playing Owen as a 10-ish, but anybody we can kind of drop in that true 10 area, I'm kind of happy to see just as a mix it up. And after seeing Obrion, I think we might have needed a winger too. So
Taylor's profile is more winger, though. I mean, I know he can play both, but he really is more left wing.
And also just having more players before a busy month. This avoids us getting the fine for not having enough senior players. I think we finally got up there. I mean, I still think we'll see some FC2 call-ups. I would be shocked if we don't see Irvin Torres this month. That kind of a thing, just because, you know, Danny being out for the month means that we're going to need an extra midfielder.
Yeah, I mean, we did get to see a bit of Dubersarski, who has a bit of the Valencia's about him, where he comes on and immediately gets a yellow, but I think a couple of those might have been harsh. So I think we'll see our squad depth a little bit more, and possibly lack thereof, I guess. But what did we pay, Seth?
It's a tad unclear on what we actually paid. So that Miami had to buy down a significant portion of his contract because to get themselves in compliance with MLS salary rules to make their crazy ass roster work. So we theoretically paid $700K in GAM over 2 years, but I don't think that's actually what we paid because there's been conflicting reports on this. He's a very low budget charge, but we actually had GAM available. So I wouldn't worry about it from this point of view. I think we actually did a pretty good job of getting him in on a very cheap salary, and hopefully he'll produce for us.
Good. Yeah. And we're expecting Danny out for, what do we see? I think at least a month is what Coach said in the interview.
Yeah, I would expect, Danny to be out in through, the middle of June. Like he said 3 to 6 weeks, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, that's always I watched that went 3 to 6 weeks. Because you see enough of those guys go off like that, and you're like, that's not great. Any other notes we want to hit on the game before we do format? Okay, cool. We're going to mix it up here and I'm going to go first on stock rising. Yeah, I know. Got to do something to mix up this team. I'm going to pick CJ. Because, Brad talked about lack of effort in this game, and I don't know if CJ, felt great after his game there last year or what, but he's been a little timid when he's come on, last season, this season. He was going, I felt like he offered more offense than Ozuni for most of the game, running after every ball. Actually trying to make things happen. I thought he was great, and if that's the CJ we get, I want to see a lot more of him. Brad, you want to go next?
My bank account, because I didn't spend money to go to Houston for the day. I didn't waste money on a ticket. I didn't waste money on a bus ticket or gas if I had driven. I didn't burn money on beers at the bar or at the game. So bank account's doing well today afterwards, which is nice, because yesterday is honestly one of the primary reasons I don't go to away matches in state anymore. I will if it's like a playoff match or an Open Cup match or something. Otherwise, I just don't have much interest, because I'm either going to be, if we win, it's great. If something like yesterday happens, I'm on a bus, pissed off for 3 hours on the way home. I get home at 1 or 2 in the morning, and I've been stuck in a city because I don't like Houston and I don't like Dallas, the DFW area, as cities to begin with. I think they're both crappy. So I'm now stuck in a place that I don't want to be all day too. Like, it's just a trifecta of crap whenever you lose. So yeah, very happy I made the decision to stay home.
And just to be perfectly clear, you're still on the away committee?
Yeah, no, please go to matches. We love you guys. Y'all were fantastic yesterday. And, from all the reports, there were no issues. Ingress and egress was great. Appreciate everybody who traveled. But yeah, I'm definitely more of a put me on the plane and send me somewhere else.
We have a funny problem now with the away travel committee of the people who are most active in organizing have very little interest in going to Texas matches. Like, you can send us to send us to Honduras and we will all be there. Send us to Phoenix for a U.S. Open Cup. Most of us will be there. Go to Frisco, whatever.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not.
I mean, that's the fun. That's like the fun of the away matches. You like go to like a different city and stay there and like experience it, and just like getting on a bus and going and hopping on a bus coming back isn't very interesting.
Or if you're gonna do that, like, I at least appreciate in England that it's like, okay, the match is at 3:00 on a Saturday. Okay, we can leave our hometown at 10. We get there at 1. We drink a little, whatever. The match is done at 5. We're home by 8 or 9. That's a day out, whatever. Like, these are not days out in a sense. Like, it is getting home at 1 or 2 in the morning. And let's face it, like, we try to get the buses in better condition and things like that, but it's a rough operation. And yeah, I mean, I wish we could have, I don't know, trains or things like this. I mean, we were talking about Freiburg earlier, that Freiburg, half of their away section wasn't able to make it to Wolfsburg this weekend because the Deutsche Bahn canceled all of their special trains due to track work. And like, that is a very like German first world problem to have happen. But like, we don't even have that option. And Amtrak canceled their contract for Texas Central Rail this week. So let's pour one out for that.
Yes, great stirring transportation success that. We're not going to get into it, but Seth, you want to do your stock rising?
Oh, my stock rising goes to both Brandon Vasquez and Brendan Heinzike for not playing in this match.
But, I mean, you could also make the argument that Heinzike's not playing because of his own fault, so should he be a stock falling instead?
We gave him a stock falling last week for that. So stock rising is that, he did this so he couldn't be blamed for this shit.
Okay, yeah, so he already bottomed out and you're buying the dip. I got it.
Yes, I mean, this is what everyone should be doing. This is 2025.
Yeah.
But just like in our economy, we don't know where the bottom is for this Austin FC team.
All of you should Google the VIX index. I'm just going to point that out. This is not official financial advice. I'm just telling you to go ahead and throw a Google in there. Scott, you want to do your stock rising?
My stock rising, in a very literal sense, is horseshoe futures. Because it seems like as this team keeps going and losing confidence, we keep reverting back to that. And I'm also just going to say stock rising to BJ Callahan, who may be the only coach in U.S. soccer who actually is good.
Well,
Pat Noonan doesn't get credit there. 22 points through 10 matches.
St. Louis native Pat Noonan, just met high school. Who do we want to go for next? Seth, you want to do your stock falling?
My stock falling has to go to Mertozuni. I mean, you have to finish chances. You have to get more involved in the match. And $12 million for that performance? Can I get a refund? No. I mean, he still has potential. He's not that again. He's going to start next Saturday. We hope he finds his form, gets his first goal at home, and gets into form in May. But it's rough right now.
Yeah, he did make a really nice run on a play later in the game where we had a cross in that they just barely cut out that he would have been set for a tap in. So I don't want to he's definitely a stock falling for me too, but I don't want to give the impression that he was like a total disaster. Sure. Scott, you want to go next?
I'm going to say Owen Wolf, not just because of the obvious mistake, but I don't think he was the best 20-year-old midfielder on the pitch yesterday. Because I thought that I'm blanking on the name. I'm going to look it up really fast. Brooklyn Reigns for Houston was just a better doing better and doing more in midfield than he was. And this team is going to unfortunately kind of be good and bad based on how good Owen's doing, and I'm not sure he's really ready for that kind of responsibility.
Yeah, and I think, if we can bring somebody in who has at least a little, quote unquote true 10 tutelage, that would be nice too. I'm going to go ahead and do mine. Brad basically already hit on it, but it's Julio. We give up goals every time he's on the pitch, whether he's directly responsible or not. And for a team with 3 center backs and plays a hyper defensive, style of play, that's not great. So I don't think we need to hit that one any harder. Brad, how about you?
Guilherme Biru. I thought it was awful yesterday, and quite frankly, he hasn't been good the last few matches, for my taste. Kalmanic was not great when he came in yesterday, but I would like to see Kalmanic get a start. And Nico said in the previous week, sometimes you have to sit guys down to send a message, and that was aimed at Bugatti. You need to do the same to Biru. You're giving this guy too much leash right now because he's constantly in bad positions. Got a yellow yesterday, which was kind of unnecessary, and was crossing the ball in nowhere, just seemingly making the wrong decision over and over and over and over again. And if we're not going to put pressure on him and for a starting spot, then he's going to continue to make the same damn mistakes.
Yeah. Very unimpressed with him last night. And he does tend to have his very off games, but hopefully that's not a pattern. Moment of suffering. Scott, you want to go first?
My moment of suffering was actually this morning. I was looking at LV Slack, and enemy of the podcast, Leslie Hilbert, pointed out, all I'm seeing is that the Cincy away trip is going to bring me more pain. Because I don't know if everybody saw the Kevin Dinky bicycle kick yesterday for Cincinnati, but that is probably the goal of the year. And they beat a much better Sporting Kansas City team now that all of their signings have come into play. And yes, I'm looking forward to that weekend. It's going to be great. We're going to have a lot of fun experiencing Cincinnati, but I'm very worried that Austin is going to get smoked that match.
And remember, FC Cincinnati does not play in the Open Cup, so we have to go play a Wednesday match where they will get a week off.
It's a good thing I'm not going there for the match.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So much of the Austin FC experience is not actually about Austin FC winning. And, well, United just drew level there. Or did they? Yeah.
I hate that Seth's background is ahead of me.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a second screen, and it's 10 seconds ahead of me because I've not gotten to the goal yet.
Yeah, I'm at 95 and they're not level.
No, they're still kicking the ball around on the top of the box.
Yeah, no. I have part of the reason I have that screen is because it does have the antenna behind it. But yes, this is a.
I'm at 95-35.
Oh shit! United scored.
Yeah. Oh, there it is.
There it is. Offside. All right, I'm ahead of you too, but behind Seth.
Yes. But we'll see. The VAR is still reviewing it here in real time, so
don't tell us.
See if they. No, they're gonna.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. We're not allowed to
the ball is in play. You guys are good. You've gotten a point here with a man advantage. But to our point here is that sort of no one should be a fan of this team getting to the point of expecting championships. And to build on this moment of suffering is that people have delusions about how good this team is going to be and get too much. Invest is probably the wrong word because we want people to be invested, but you get to a point where it is it's not the end of the world if we lose a match. It's a freaking game, even against a rival. Sure, it stinks, but you know what? I got 8 hours of sleep last night. My life was fine. Like, maybe because I wasn't spending 3 hours on a bus coming back after the match.
Yeah.
That's like, get to the
I do have the expectation when we go on road matches, not in state, like the away matches outside that. Literally, the trip for me is hang out with people and see some city or
Yeah.
go to places that I enjoy going because I haven't been to a while. Like, we play Chicago. I've been to Chicago in 6 or 7 years. Like, I can't wait to get up there and eventually play because it's one of my favorite cities in the country. I've never been to Cincinnati, and it just so happens to be Seth's hometown. So yeah, let's go somewhere where we have somebody who can show us around and take us to some places. Like, we have restaurant reservations when we get there. Some cool place that I would have never known about without Seth that I can't wait to go check out. And I'm going to get to lose money on horses. Like, that's a good weekend. It's great.
Call 188.
For the record, he's gambling on them. This is not a Glue Factory situation.
Always got to bring
it
it back.
depending on how they finish, Scott. We'll see.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll watch. We will record the pod, and we'll get to a world where Brad has bought a horse in Ohio. Like, you never know. Stranger things can happen.
I mean, if they win enough, you never know what can happen. The horses in Ohio are not the highest, most expensive ones. So you're not talking like Derby level horses here. You can get in.
Go across the river and you'll be in Kentucky. You'll be fine.
We're flying into Kentucky and having dinner in Kentucky.
Yeah, there you go. Get a horse there. I've completely lost track of where we are.
I mean, I think both of us were giving just different moments of suffering of like, hey, it's in this moment here of like, what is the level of pain? Yeah, there are 20 different balls that we could have given you as a moment of suffering, but I think the suffering right now is the vibes are suffering.
Yeah, and I don't mind, like, especially preseason when people are like, oh my God, we're going to be the best team ever. Like, I want you to get hyped, but also, like, if other people are like, maybe we're not, like, don't shoot them down. People experience the game in different ways. And like you said, Seth, this is a game, like, even if I was, like, the most invested Austin FC fan of all time, and I thought, like, if we don't win the championship this year, then, nothing's worth it. Like, it's a fucking game in April in MLS. Like, yeah, it wasn't great. Yeah, I think this is the worst game of the year so far. Simpsons meme so far. It can always get worse. So, like, yeah, it is what it is. Brad, did you give us a moment of suffering?
Yeah, there was a point in the second half where we had a counter, quote unquote, going down the left side. And I forgot who exactly played it. But I think it was Bacati that was running up the left behind whoever had the ball. And instead, if whoever had the ball I was so angry and outraged when it happened that I didn't even pay attention to who had it. But instead of turning left and taking acres of space, which was a recurring problem last night, lots of space that we just did not take with the ball, and keep on dribbling, they tried a cheeky back heel that just rolled out of bounds.
Yep.
Sometimes I feel this team likes to try to make the complicated pass or the complicated play as opposed to making the simple play. And the simple play there is to just dribble the ball into the wide open green area and make the defense react to you.
Yeah, that was kind of the point I was trying to make about Sabovic last week is, like, we'll see people try to take, like, 1 or 2 extra touches and make this killer pass instead of just like, nope, just whack it into space, guys. It's not that complicated. All right. Scott, did we do yours? I literally lost where we were.
Yes, we did mine.
Okay. Mine is after the first goal. I went, oh, well, we gave up our goal. The game's over. And it wasn't. It got worse. That and, like, I kind of mentioned it earlier. I'm going to pick a second one, but how they had the great counterattack goal, and then we have a chance to kind of draw it back to 2-1, and we have a counterattack. And if we had just basically run the exact same counter, we would have been, a goal down within a shout with, 10 minutes or so plus added time. But we completely, like, screwed it up, passed it out wide to Zan. I don't even think we got a shot off out of it. So, if you're going to be a sit and hit team, you need to learn how to hit and try to hit. And I think that's kind of our overarching theme. Thank fucking Christ are we done talking about this game. All right. Obscure sports time, I think. I mentioned the Blues pasted the Winnipeg Jets on Thursday, Friday, whatever day it was. And they're playing again today, about as soon as we're done getting off this podcast. So my mood will be greatly dictated by playoff hockey. Seth, what's going on in the wide world of sports?
Let's see. We had the NFL draft this past weekend, which is always high comedy with the Cleveland Browns drafting not one but two quarterbacks. My Bengals not knowing what they're doing. The Eagles somehow getting the best defensive players in the draft at the bottom of the draft because that's what they do. That's how it goes. Let's see. We could go. I mean, we're in the middle. We had an NBA playoff buzzer beater last night. That was pretty awesome. That was happening at the beginning of this game. You don't see that too often. Yeah, I mean, it's been hockey playoffs have had quite a few overtime games. Like that's been all good to go. We had San Jose played an almost normal match in MLS last night.
That's crazy.
Sorry, I missed this.
San Jose lost 2-1 at the Crew in a remarkably normal match last night.
Oh yeah, that's correct.
Like that's a headline. Like they're yeah.
Yeah, we're
and
rounding.
Charlotte finally lost a home game.
Yeah.
We are rounding into fun kind of lower league and end of cup stuff too in European leagues for soccer too.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
The Championship and League One are fascinating right now on multiple levels. So, like Championship, the playoff race is wide ass open for the last spot or two. The relegation race is still pretty open with a game to go. I was watching a lot of lower league soccer or matches yesterday.
All the top level games sucked. So
yeah, no, I mean I had fun watching some of the other stuff yesterday. You know, QPR luckily has nothing to play for right now because God, that was bad. 5-0 loss to Burnley. But when you look at the standings just in the Championship right now, at the top, Burnley and Leeds already been promoted with about 1 or 2 to go, depending on who's playing left. But when you get to the bottom, so the top 3 through 6 make the playoff. Sheffield United and Sunderland are locked in for the playoff. But Bristol City, Coventry, Millwall, Blackburn, and Middlesbrough are all going into the final match with an opportunity to make it in for 2 spots.
6:30 Saturday morning is going to be fun, and we have. Brad, have you looked ahead at the fixture list?
I have not looked at that.
So there's some good ones in there. So Coventry plays Borough, I believe, in Coventry. So that's going to be a big one. Millwall has to go to Burnley. And while Burnley's already been promoted, Burnley wants to win the league against Leeds. So they're going to be motivated to play. Bristol City has to play at Leeds tomorrow. So that means that they probably lose that match. So you're going for 2 spots in the Championship, most likely. And they have to play Preston, who is in the relegation zone, or could potentially be relegated. Hull, who's looked like garbage lately, has to go to Portsmouth, who's barely safe. Plymouth has to somehow overcome a multi-goal difference, and they host Leeds, who's going for the Championship. Like this is going. I hope there's a Golasso show for this next Saturday morning because this is going to be.
You need one just for the promotion or just for the playoff, and a Golasso show for the relegation.
No, just show it off at this point. Like there's going to be like 60 goals. It's going to be something stupid because it's the Championship.
Relegation, like Cardiff is gone. They're already relegated. Plymouth can theoretically get out, but they're probably done because of goal differential. So, I mean, yeah, they're done. I mean, they're negative 36.
No, they're done.
They're done. But Hull City, Luton, Preston, Derby, and Stoke all could be that last team relegated.
Oh, I'm very pro Stoke getting relegated.
Yeah, so
I'm invested in this
Derby and Stoke has to go to Derby, and I think it's like the A50 motorway Derby or something. I have to check.
Yeah,
the way it connects those 2 cities, but that it is a fun one there, and Stoke getting relegated to League One would be fantastic.
Like it's really stupid what's going on in that league, and then if you look at League One, similar conversation. Really, the only thing you have to play for right now on the top end is Leighton, Orient, and Reading are tied on points going into the final day of the season. Leighton leads on goal differential. That's for the final playoff spot. So Layton's won 5 straight. Like they're playing really, really well right now. And if I'm Stockport, that's not a team I want to see in the playoff in that first round. But that's definitely one to keep an eye on. On the relegation side, though, Cambridge and Shrewsbury are already relegated, but Bristol Rovers, Crawley, it's really between Bristol Rovers and Crawley who are going down, and they're only a 2-goal differential between the two, and they're tied on points. So it's possible they could both lose, but if Crawley ends up losing like 4-0 and Bristol loses 1-0, Bristol stays up just on that weird goal differential.
I feel like we're in that scene in basketball where they're describing all the playoff scenarios.
Yes.
And also, like, Brad, I love this for you. I love that you have like found a team and like a championship, and like you care about this so much to know all of this. I'm just so happy for you.
So the beauty is QPR lost 5-0 yesterday at home, and I just was like, yeah, okay, whatever, because we're safe. We can't be promoted. We have no chance of the promotion playoffs. We have no chance at relegation. It's perfectly QPR, and that's exactly where I want to be.
On the beach, as they say.
Yeah,
I mean, that's always the tough part about the championship is that like you want to find a team that like stays in the championship. And that's always like kind of like a weird mix until they finally get prosecuted for their blatant match fixing when they allowed the Aguero goal.
I am infinitely fascinated for next year with Wrexham coming up to the championship, because the jump from League One to the championship is massive, not only in players but money, and they're going to need an infusion of money. I know Ryan Reynolds is like stupid rich, way so more than McElhinney. Like Reynolds is, I think, actually a billionaire by this point with all the companies he's sold off. But how much money is he willing to really put into this at this point? Now, the value of Wrexham is through the roof compared to what they paid for it, because I think they paid $2.5 million for Wrexham originally. How much are they
They've
really
also brought on a bunch of other investors. This is not just the two of them doing this.
Yeah.
Like they've brought on investors. This is hundreds of millions of dollars worth of enterprise now. I mean, they're renovating the stadium. They got permits to build a 5,500 seat cop to replace like the temporary bleachers they have up at this point. Like this is a life project for them. And I mean, yes, I don't think that they might make some money off this, but most likely, like the only time you make money on a sports team is when you sell it in the cuts you get for owning a sports team in the United States, which I don't think is as much of a thing in the UK, but since they're not UK residents, I don't know how that all plays out. I also don't know how the Welsh tax system works.
No,
what? No, I mean, the good thing about Wrexham that they've done is that they've put a lot more into the infrastructure of it in terms of building out a stadium and building out what had been hollowed out, and that's really where like the club structure has been enhanced so much by the infusion of cash, is building the bigger stadium, building the nicer stadium, and all those kind of things.
And I want to be clear, I'm not criticizing either Reynolds or McElhinney, because I think what they've done has been very good, and the way they've gone about it has been solid. Like McElhinney was literally standing in the away supporters section a week ago, during their, I think, Monday match, whenever they played, Monday or Tuesday. Owners don't do that. And I think the way they've gone about it, I truly think they care about the team and the city, and good for them. I'm just fascinated to see that jump for them next year, because a lot of folks who maybe started following the game or just started following Wrexham because of the TV show, you get promoted every year. This is just what happens. Welcome to the insanity that is the championship next year.
Yeah, but it's also like in addition to the stadium stuff, sure, but like they're actually not making much money. They're losing money on the stadium stuff. Where they're making money is that, why would United Airlines be sponsoring a League One team? Why would a cold brew brand buy the naming rights to stadium? They're making it's all on the commercial side and on the TV side. Like that's where they're making the money at this point. And that's really good at the lower division level, at the championship level. That will be nice. But there's also they had a team this year. The winners of League One, Birmingham City, have way deeper pockets, and over half of the ownership groups in the championship do. The question is, how can they have a championship quality keeper. They now have a championship quality front line. They have a championship quality back line. What can they do in their midfield? And they have a few other positions that they have to go under pretty significant upgrades to be a team that can be better than QPR.
The other thing is
Let's get promoted.
The other thing is just infrastructure, right? And I'm not talking about just the stadium. Their practice facilities and stuff are nowhere near, like, even a QPR. Like, QPR's facilities outside of London are really, really nice. Wrexham's not there. They were in the damn National League 3 years ago, y'all.
But we're getting to the point of there's enough cash coming into Wrexham. I mean, these guys got Wrexham to have direct train service to London. Like, that doesn't just benefit Wrexham AFC. Like, that benefits everyone who lives in North Wales. Like, they are literally putting this town back on the map.
Yeah. I think it would be fun if instead of going to the Championship, they went from League One to League One. But, maybe if Ryan and Mac may be able to do it, who knows?
That's a weird, welcome to Wrexham, Etoile, crossover of, leagues, trading up teams.
Yeah, but I mean, even the big, let's say Birmingham City, who is a historically very large club, you're going to go to Sunderland, who plays in a 65,000 seater stadium,
45,000. Yeah, but Sunderland, hey, they're in the playoffs. They might get promoted.
Yeah, but I mean,
I don't know. I just want Tyneware derbies. If you've ever seen intense derbies, Newcastle Sunderland is next level.
It's a good time for 49.
Or the real sickos says if Millwall makes it into the playoffs and Millwall somehow gets promoted to the Premier League, shit! I mean, the people who will really win are going to be the Metropolitan Police Department of the City of London, because those officers are going to get so much overtime on all the Millwall matches.
Yeah. South and East London will not survive that.
No.
Good Lord!
I can just imagine. Yeah, there would be so many good London derbies, but also I don't want Millwall fans to be happy, but also that one guy who stopped a terrorist attack, who went and punched a guy and was shouting "fuck you" on Millwall, that guy can be happy, but all the other Millwall fans, I don't want to be happy. It's a very, very complicated math problem here.
Well, so the question is, it's how much would they have to reduce the crowd noise at the Den if they're showing those matches on NBC? They're I guess we can't show this match. Oh, every match has to be on Peacock, and there has to be an NC-17 viewer disclaimer.
Did I tell y'all the Millwall story from when we came back from London? By the way,
go for it.
So I'm in the airport in London checking in, having a problem check in my bag. So as I'm standing there, there's a guy just yelling at his kid. The kid's 18, 19 years old about something completely over the top. Does not need to be yelling like that, whatever. I get to our gate and I realize, oh hell, this dude's on my flight. All right. Get back into Austin. We're waiting at the bag claim. And this guy had also been cussing at the people at the airport, everything. Just typical loud American bullshit. Get to the baggage claim, and he happens to be standing right next to me, and he has Austin FC stuff. Huh? It's oh, did you go see some matches or something? He's like, oh yeah, we went here and here, and then we went to Millwall. Pardon me, it took everything I could not just go, of course you fucking did. Everything about it just tracks.
Why are you insulting our listenership? Yeah, I don't know. I guess the other big news that we're recording, but it'll probably be over by the time anybody listens to this. Liverpool has a chance to clinch their 20th league title. And I actually don't care what happens in this game because I think Liverpool fans finally deserve to be able to actually celebrate a Premier League title. But at the same time, them delaying this by a week by losing to fucking Tottenham would be goddamn hilarious.
No, that's not. That is not. That is not. After what we watched last night, no, that's at least a draw. I mean, obviously, would love a crushing win, but I'm fine with a 1 or 2 goal win for the memes to be that Tottenham can still potentially finish in 17th with a positive goal differential. If Freiburg somehow goes to the Champions League with a negative goal differential and we get to a world where Spurs goes 17th with a positive goal differential, that's just the funniest thing I've ever seen in top 5 league football.
And Harry Kane is going to finally win a trophy next week and be suspended for it.
Yes, that is. Yeah, but they're playing RB Leipzig, so we absolutely want Bayern to beat RB Leipzig.
Yeah,
but also 4-0 yesterday.
What are the odds? So, what are the odds that he's going to run onto the pitch after the game full kit wanker?
Well, I mean, it's in Leipzig, so maybe, but like they won't do the traditional celebration until they're home. If you guys have never seen a Bayern Munich victory celebration, they are pretty amazing. I gotta say that the players all go over to the Sud Tribune and are given with their South stand, and they're all given giant liters like plus of beer, and pretty much every player is expected to finish their liter of beer while drinking it with the fans post winning their final match of the season at home.
Good. Well, I mean, they have enough practice.
Yes, I mean they do. I mean, happy Frühlingsfest to anyone who celebrates.
Yes.
Do you guys know what Frühlingsfest is? So Frühlingsfest is the spring equivalent of Oktoberfest to start the that you have finished the first round of planting. So that is the big drinking festival this weekend in Germany.
Then what's My Fest?
My Fest is when the My Box come out, which is next week.
Oh, sorry. You need to start us a calendar.
Yes, there are lots of drinking festivals. It's also white asparagus season right now in Germany, and that's very, very important. Yeah, I have never seen a place that loves a vegetable as much as Germans love white asparagus.
Okay. I don't know what to say to that. So I guess anything else you guys want to hit, or should we wrap? Brad, you're on mute.
Just happy Kentucky Derby week to all that celebrate.
Yes. And I'm happy for everyone that survived the NFL draft, because I can't understand people who actually watch that, but especially when like playoff hockey and playoff basketball's on. Like, come on, guys.
The beauty of the NFL draft is you don't actually have to watch the NFL draft.
You read a list later. It's fine.
But if you don't watch the NFL draft, you miss Mel Kiper complaining for 2.5 days about Shedeur Sanders not getting drafted, even though Mel Kiper's dead wrong on this one. So it's really funny.
He's wrong a lot. He's not quite Jim Cramer, but he's close.
It's also one of those things that just like doesn't really matter. Like in the grand scheme of things, like where a player goes and their coaching staff is much more important than like all of the like bullshit value articles that are like low level content that people put together.
Your team clearly didn't trade in the first round to draft Tim Tebow, because it absolutely matters. As someone who experienced that about 14 years.
You know, I will just say I live in a high rise here in Chicago, and 3:30 on Thursday, there were two guys that normally I live on the 7th floor of the building, and normally from the lobby to the 7th, there's no one who gets on. But there happened to be two guys that were going up to the 30th floor, but got off on the 3rd floor because they couldn't read the apartment unit number correct. And it is a little confusing, to be fair. But both in Bears jerseys, each of them has the Miller 30 rack at 3:30 to start pre-gaming the draft that was in 3.5 hours.
I was going to say the draft takes for fucking ever. You don't have to pre-game it.
Yeah, I was going to say, but like these guys were on like the Bears meme level with Miller 30 racks at 3:30 on a Thursday to pregame the draft.
So my take on the draft is I can understand people who watch it, because I watch it. I enjoy it. I love college football. I can see where people end up. However, the people who pay money to get a ticket and then pay for overpriced beers at the official draft stuff, like in Green Bay that they're doing this week or wherever they're doing it next year, and they've done it, that's insane to me. That I don't understand. Why am I going to stand in a parking lot to watch this?
And the NFL draft was so big in Green Bay that they sold out every hotel within 60 miles. Schools had to be closed on Thursday and Friday because police couldn't guarantee kids' safety getting to school.
Nice. So, Brad, when you say you watched the draft, do you mean like you were watching something else and you had another TV on that? Or like literally the only thing I'm paying attention to is the draft on TV?
Thursday and Friday, the only thing I was paying attention to was the draft on TV.
That's insane. There was hockey on, dude.
I know. I was watching hockey on my second screen.
Well, that's what I just asked.
No. So hockey was second screen, though. Like,
yeah, but you have something else going on still.
But that wasn't until the Avs started. Like, I watched the Avs game on second screen Thursday night. Friday night, the Avs didn't play, so I watched the draft all night.
All right. Well, 257 picks and guaranteed future Hall of Famer Brady Cook's still out there. So, hope your favorite team signs him to a camp invite.
I'm just going to say, I just got a text from a friend who is like a marginal soccer fan. It's like, who just asked me, because I'm just going to share this. We were talking about this with Wrexham earlier. It's like, how many times more does Wrexham need to get promoted before they get to the Premier League? 1. The next question is, they're going to win the Premier League title before Spurs.
I could see it.
Not out of the question.
Yeah. Well, especially if they keep Big Ange around. Please keep Big Ange around. This is my plea. He's so entertaining.
Hey, they could still be Europa League champs.
Yeah,
Also,
that
look at United versus Spurs, 16th battle of 16th place. That is the Europa League championship. Like,
Okay, first of all, don't jinx it, because if anybody can screw it up, it's United and Spurs.
Honestly, that's like the perfect encapsulation of winning the NIT.
Yep. All right. Well,
but we are at this house. We want Bodo Glimt to win the Europa League, and we
Yes,
will
we
be
do.
rooting for Bodo Glimt.
yes, our far north friends up in the Arctic Circle.
Like everything about this podcast, 3 of the 4 of us want that.
Yeah.
Just a running
rotates.
trend that only 3 of us have ever done anything or been in one place at one time.
I just want chaos.
Yes. Bodo Glimt winning anything would be chaos.
I just want chaos.
Yeah. And
Like,
no one cares what happens in
I
the.
were talking to the match last week. That Man United comeback game was the most insane thing I may have ever seen on a soccer pitch, and I enjoyed every second of that. Like at that point, I didn't care who won. I just wanted chaos. It was great.
Yeah, we always root for the funniest answer.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, on behalf of Scott, Brad, and Seth, thanks for suffering with us. Bye.
Promise here for Austin Jarrett Stroud. It's Diego for goodness! He has written his name into Austin folklore.
They just won't go away.
Oh, he hits the upright again. That's impossible.
The Bears' season's going to end on a double doink.
Altidore squares it. Dempsey's missed it. Donovan has it. From hope, there is glory.